and especially, like I said, losing my dad, like, was kind of searching for, like, man, do I know what I'm doing? Do I know where I'm going? Do I know who I am? And in that, I walked in, one of the men's groups that I met you at Love Church, and walked in there even before I went to church there, opened up the book of Timothy, and it pretty much spelled out, here's what a man of God is. And I'm like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Building a Better Business. Today, our guest is Wil Stephany, founder and CEO of Oracle Insurance. For those of you who don't know Oracle Insurance, Oracle is a family-owned independent insurance agency helping clients find the best coverages to protect what matters most. Wil, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah. And
it's good to chat with you again. It's been a while.
I know. And I'm going to out myself for anybody who's listening. That I said family-owned independent insurance agents like 4 times before I can get that tongue twister down.
It is tricky.
It is tricky. But I would love to, as we get into this episode, I really want to start by just unpacking how Oracle got started. So if you wouldn't mind giving us like a brief overview of how did Oracle get started, and kind of tell us the genesis of your business. Did it come from a need? Did it come from a background, family? Like, where was the start here?
Yeah, no. So, really, I've been in the insurance biz for a long time now, 25 years plus. And I was, prior to Oracle Insurance, I was with a captive agency. So that'd be captive agencies like State Farm, Allstate, to where you can only offer one company. And was an agency owner with a captive, and then went into So I sold my agency, went into corporate with that captive carrier, and realized that after being my own boss since I was 25 years old, and then going into the corporate structure, it just wasn't for me. So I did like 2 years of that, was sales manager for the state of Iowa, and then started thinking about going back into the agency space. And in doing that, I just really wanted to have choice for the clients. So more working for the client, less for the carrier, just making sure we're doing the best thing for them. So yeah, kind of crazy story I was at. And in that, my wife and I, just kind of get all the details, my wife and I were both traveling a lot. So I was on the road pretty much from Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, and my wife was working for a franchise company that based out of Omaha, and she was covering the Northeast, so she was also traveling to New York and Massachusetts and all that stuff. So we were both on the road. We had 3 kids, small at that time, busy, with activities, and we weren't around. So I was at a meeting with that captive carrier when I was a sales manager, and they were like, hey, we need our sales managers to see twice as many agency owners in a week. And I'm like, I'm already on the road a lot. I'm like, if I do, it was just like office space, I was like, no, I'm good. And they're like, well, you got to. And I'm like, no,
not so much.
I got married to see my wife. I had kids to raise them, not to be on the road all the time. And kind of right there, I called my wife, they're like, well, if you don't, you're going to get fired. I'm like, that's okay. You got to do what you got to do. It's, it's just business. So I called my wife, said, hey, I think I'm going to be done at Allstate.
I'll cut that out.
I'm going to be done at that carrier. Hey, and I'm going to, get my own thing started. And she was like, awesome. It was like completely like comfortable moment.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so started putting Oracle together, and started just getting contract with carriers, and just kind of got going. Picked a name. The Oracle was in Matrix. He looks down the road. So that's what we do with insurance. We look down the road to see what possibilities you have for risk or loss, and and just got going. Started with me in just like a 10 by 10 office that I rented for a couple $100 a month in Gretna, and just started building it from there, and had good, a good start, but then tripped over myself about 28 times, and slowly figuring it out.
Yeah, so that's the journey of an entrepreneur is stumbling and getting back up and tripping again and getting back up again, and just hopefully it's an upward trajectory, right? Following forward and learning.
Yeah.
I imagine that that's one, the transition from employee to employer, not necessarily right off the bat, but to being an entrepreneur was not only incredibly exciting, but moving from captive to independent had to have been just like a game changer. And I say that because full transparency, I am a customer of Oracle, and absolutely that was one of the things that drew me to you guys. Was I never even knew that, maybe this is naive of me, but I never knew that thing existed where you could be a provider to me and bring all these other companies to my disposal and find what's best for me, as opposed to me going to, you name the competition,
Right.
and I'm captive. And that was like a light bulb moment for me, and I imagine it's been for your customers as well.
Yeah, really, I always, when I was with that captive carrier, it always was tough when rate increases are inevitable, especially in today's market. But it was always tough when people call and say, "Hey, my rates went up. What are you going to do about it?" And like, there's let's raise your deductible or nothing. Let's take coverage off. That's the only way we can get it to go down. So it's just nice to have choice, to where you can help mold everybody's plan. Really, we're insurance guides. We're not insurance sales agents. We help guide people to the best plan that fits their needs, and that's going to help them sleep at night to make sure they're protected. And that independent choice is huge. Now, being a business owner, when I was with a captive, you went to their training, learned their system, and only had one system to know. So there's when I meet with new prospective agents, it's like, hey, that maybe have worked on the captive side. It's like, hey, this is good, but you're going to have to, dig in and learn a lot more, and a lot more systems, a lot more carrier products and stuff like that. So it's give and take, but it's all good.
Yeah. So you've been at this business for a while now, and we joked about like, okay, keep messing up, but keep learning and growing. I'd love to hear, what was the thing that took or maybe it was a couple of things that took your business to the next level? Like, was there a moment or a problem or an opportunity or decision that was like the catalyst for growth for Oracle?
Yeah, well, I mean, really, I'd say Jesus, dude.
Love that answer.
Yeah, he, so in a couple of my missteps, my dad had passed. This is all about 7 years ago. My dad had passed away. Had with kids and stuff. Marriage was good, but wasn't great. We were just more roommates than lovers, whatever. So, and then I had a couple things happen at work where deals that went bad, where you're chasing the big ticket item and it didn't pan out at all. And then also had some employee issues that really put me to the test. And throughout that, and especially like I said, losing my dad, like, was kind of searching for like, man, do I know what I'm doing? Do I know where I'm going? Do I know who I am? And in that, I walked in, one of the men's groups that I met you at Love Church, and walked in there even before I went to church there, and opened up the book of Timothy, and it pretty much spelled out, here's what a man of God is. And I'm like, oh, that's who I'm supposed to be. And it's
been here all along.
yeah. And it changed my perspective, changed, my life. It changed my business cap. One time I could never find my core values, my mission, because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know what my business really stood for. And then Cap prayed into it one time at church, and just spelled it all out. And that's where we found our mission is to be the calm in the storm, just like Jesus was in the boat. Yeah, so because that's what we are. That's what
you really
people's tornado hits Elkhorn, and people call and say, "What do I do?" We just try to give them comfort. So that was probably my biggest aha moment. But all those trials and tribulations is what got me to my knees to say, all right, I give up. It's your business, not mine.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you put it that way, because it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that revelation moment with Christ almost like aligned all the things you've done in the past, all the things you learned, all the things you want to do, seemed like they aligned once you got clarity of who you were and what your mission was in life, and that you had almost like a clear calling going forward from there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's man, from everything to, what our business purpose is, to how to treat employees and how to hire employees, knowing that we have, faith-based core values.
Yeah.
And then even selecting some clients. There's some clients that we don't fit our mold. So just really knowing that, and it's just been cool to see the response from clients and from our employees on how much more comfortable they feel when they're being led by a man that's led by Jesus. So
Yeah.
and not that I do everything right. I still
Yeah,
I
sure.
still screw up every day. So
Yeah, I can say that that's been my experience too in the past few years, is that, with my agent through Oracle, I always know that whatever advice I'm getting is from what's best for me, not what's best for Oracle, right?
Yeah,
and
good.
it's like I've got so many things going on in work and in life that I don't have the time to be thinking about these things. I need a trusted source to be able to point me in the right direction,
Right.
and say, all right, I can trust my life, my family, our belongings to this decision, and I trust this person to give me the advice. So
yeah, good.
that's I love
Well,
that.
if that
slogan.
ever doesn't happen, if you don't have that feeling, let me know. So
I know
we
who
can
to call.
fix it. Yeah, right.
Well, let's go to the flip side, and maybe this answer is connected to what you just said there too. But what's the flip side of that? What's the hardest thing over these past few years that either you or your business have had to overcome since you began? And kind of walk me through how that came to pass.
The toughest thing recently that we've been going through, the honestly, it's inflation and the storms. Like a lot of people don't, realize how much inflation is affecting insurance, and we're seeing massive rate increases like we've never seen before, and a lot of our carriers are even shut down for new business because of they're just trying to stop the bleeding. So it's a unique time. So that happened last fall already because of them, a lot of carriers just shutting down, and then we get hit by tornado, storm. So it's been rough in that aspect. And probably the hardest thing going through that is, so we even have less choice because of carriers being shut down than traditionally we do. And you find those like senior citizens, and we do Medicare and all those things too. So we have those seniors that are on a fixed income, but man, they're seeing 40% increases, and that's not just insurance. We all pay more for eggs. We pay more for everything right now. And just, hearing them cry like, how do I afford this when I'm on a fixed income? And just trying to figure out solutions for those elders is tough, just because we all have grandmas and grandpas that we just adore. So that's probably been the most recent struggle. So really, we're looking at that as an opportunity. We do have more choices than most agencies, and how can we just be that calm in the storm right now, and fit that need that they need, just of knowing reassurance, like, okay, what things don't you need on your on
how
your
can you be
coverages?
creative?
And really, during the COVID experiment, whatever you want to call that thing, we found out that so many companies took away. I mean, a lot of companies you can't even call anymore. You have to do a chat.
Oh, really?
So really, that's why we're really like hammering down on, hey, we're family owned. My wife works in the business. My son works in the business. So we're going to be here a long time. And then, we have awesome employees above that. But you can call here and you're going to talk to the same people every time, and you can still call here and talk to somebody. And that's putting that relationship back in business, because it seems like it's kind of gotten taken out of it.
Yeah. Most listeners will know that this podcast is brought to you by Skyline Point Capital. We do real estate investing. So I can speak definitively to insurance costs are going through the roof, at least on the commercial side. We're seeing
it's huge.
It's incredible. As we try to underwrite new investments and try to bring investments to our investors, a lot of deals are just being killed because of our insurance costs. Like I had one here recently here locally too, where the I won't say who it is, but the insurance company that was providing insurance to the apartment that we were buying or trying to buy quoted me another rate for the same apartment if we took it over, and it was more than double than what the guy is currently paying. And I'm like, you guys already insure this. Why would this? And I'm sure there's probably a logical answer to that. But what's sort of if being the Oracle, what is your sort of vision for the future of, like, does this calm down? What will it take to kind of get it back to some normalcy? I mean, is there any hope at all?
Yeah, from what I've heard from carriers, been meeting with a lot of carriers and a lot of frank conversations, and really what you're probably going to see when insurance started, especially on the property side, policies were very basic. They covered, the basic risk like fire, if you're tornado, just the major things. And over time, carriers have tried to, beef up their policies, and they added a lot of little coverages that, people used to turn in, but now we have clients and we're like, I wouldn't, like say you have a ring that's worth $1,000. Like, I would tell somebody, don't even insure that, because if you turn that in, you're going to spend $1,200 in rate increases over the next 5 years.
Sure.
So let's not insure that. So the reason I say that is, I think you're going to see a lot of carriers just going back to more of a or at least offering just a catastrophic coverage. And you're seeing that in the commercial space with apartment buildings and condo associations. They're passing on more of that risk to the insured because the deductibles are, a couple $100,000 on some of those properties, depending on the value. And so I think that's one thing they're going to do to combat it. For the next 2 years, rate increases, from what I'm told, are going to continue to try to catch up. We had one carrier that just took a 30% rate increase. They were indicated to take a 47% rate increase, but they chose not to take it all. But so hopefully, we're out of storm season now, so hopefully we can now kind of breathe a little bit. I used to love storms. I used to sit outside with my dad and watch them come in.
Same.
And now I just sit there like, oh.
Yeah. Now as a kid, I was like, sirens, I'm going outside. I want to see this. Now as a homeowner, I'm like, I could just hear money being pulled from my pockets.
Totally.
Well, so what then, and maybe your answer is the same, but what gives you angst for your industry going forward? I mean, maybe beyond the inflating of insurance rates.
Yeah. I've been super fortunate to have a great staff that's been here. Their tenure here is probably a lot longer than most agencies. But just really finding the right staff as we continue to grow. That's probably, so really the thing that I've had to do, and I don't know if you guys do it in your business, but we do the traction model for business here, Gino Wickman, and that's been the biggest learning experience for me is traction. And then I don't know if you've ever looked at Working Genius from Patrick Lencioni. That's if you got a team and trying to figure out how y'all fit in, that was huge for me as well, just to understand, first of all, myself and what my working geniuses are and my teams. But just that traction model's helped me. A lot of the issues I had in the past are because I was the one that was doing everything. I'm the janitor here, and I'm also the HR marketing person. So I've, over the last couple of years, since I was humbled and came to Christ, right, and realized I'm not that great.
Not great at anything.
I've been handing stuff off to my staff, and delegate to elevate, right, and that has been a huge thing to where now I can breathe a little bit. I don't get in the way of everybody here. And just do what I know how to do, and I'm really the visionary, and that's the space that I play in at 30,000 feet. So
that's great. So you've really fixed the problem of your staff by just figuring out, okay, what are all our best attributes? What are we great at? And how do we get in the right people on the right seat on the right bus?
Exactly.
Have you guys seen that you've had to go outside of like even Omaha to find quality talent, or do you feel like because of at least getting your home in order, so to speak, that you guys were able to still source from local and find what you need?
We tried outsourcing some of the daily activities here, with U.S. based and out of country,
Yeah.
and it just and not sure if it was our fault or not, but we just really here at the office. I mean, we have a golden tea set up. We have fun together. We're
Yeah.
all pretty tight family, I would say. So our culture is to be here. Even during COVID, when we sent some staff home, everybody kept calling back in after 2 weeks and like, can we
Can I
come
come
back in?
back?
I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah. That's a great culture to have. If you have that, it means you have a great culture. People love what they do.
yeah. So I'm sure there's some days they don't want to come in, but
Yeah,
yeah, we're
right.
pretty flexible. So no, we haven't. We've stayed pretty true to here, and luckily, I've never ran an ad for an employee, or an
Lucky.
agent or any
Yeah.
staff. So luckily it's always been referrals and so people that know people,
Yeah.
and they've traditionally worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. So let's flip that then. What's the thing that gives you the most excitement about your industry? Is there anything coming down the pipe, either from a governmental standpoint or even in your own personal business, that gives you so much excitement?
For me, being a visionary, I come up with, and I think you're a little bit the same way.
Yeah.
Within a day, I come up with 20 businesses that I'd like to do. Right?
Yeah,
If I
right.
ever see something and I'm like, oh, that could be done better, I'm going to make
Yeah.
a business. Like my
Yeah.
daughter, she who's in 11th grade, she's talking, starting to talk about what she wants to be, and she was talking about being a nurse, and but she sews, and we had my sister-in-law had some chairs that needed reupholstering, and she couldn't find anybody. Like the company that in Omaha was like 6 months out,
Yeah.
and they charged like more than the chairs were worth to
Wow.
reupholster them.
There's
And
a
I'm
business.
like, there's a business. I'm like, all those people are old. They're gonna be like getting out of the business. I'm like, honey, let's start. I'll get the
Yeah.
business started. You
Yep.
just start it.
Yep.
And she's like, I don't want to tell somebody that's what I do for my job. And I'm like, oh well, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's where like I mean, to be honest about me personally, like that's where I'm excited is as I continue to lead into the traction model and pass off the responsibilities that I can get out and do. Like I'm a big woodworker,
Yeah.
and I love just creating something that somebody can enjoy. So
Yeah.
having more opportunity to do that kind of stuff, and then the biggest thing for me is like with staff is just seeing them liking what they're doing, and then also helping them develop their leadership skills, based on either things I've done well, or either hey, I
Yeah.
did this as a mistake, and
Yeah.
here's how I learned from it. So
That's so good. My wife has a thing she does whenever she talks about a hobby that she wants to get into or likes doing or whatever. She prefaces it by saying, "Don't try to modify this. This is not going to become a business." And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, it could, but
your
See,
wife
I'm-
and my wife would have a great
I
conversation
know,
about
I
that
know.
stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to wrap up by getting a little bit more personal. What's the long-term goal, not only for Oracle, but how does Oracle and its future play into your personal goals? Like, where's the touch point there of Oracle and where you see your personal life going in the future?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to, we were just talking, I was talking with the staff earlier. We were just sitting around and talking about one of their parents retired, and I don't feel like I could ever really retire.
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you're in the right seat and you love what you're doing, I mean, I can see, and that's the nice thing
Slow
about
down,
insurance,
maybe.
and
Yeah.
what you're doing is we're not beating our bodies up like
Yeah.
some trades. So like, yeah, I may slow down, but I don't ever foresee stepping completely away.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I'm super excited. My son's 22 years old and working in the business with me, and we have a great relationship. So I'm super excited to see, him and the other employees as I can, continue to pass the torch on, and hopefully
Yeah.
they, you know, do better than I did, learn from my mistakes, um, and just continue to like mold them into better employees and better leaders and better
Yeah.
people altogether. But yeah, and then man, I just see it like the nice thing too is it's as technology changes, like I said, we like to be in the office, but we do have that opportunity to take a laptop with us and work from anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a good opportunity too. We just went to Banff, Canada, which I would
Oh, so cool.
highly recommend for if you haven't
Yeah.
been there. And man, just to see God's beauty and what He can create, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So
We've talked about taking a road trip up there for a number of years, but I think our daughters are at the age where that sort of road trip might be a little too far for them. So we might have to wait a couple more years. Yeah.
Driving up there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be a long drive.
It's a little
How
bit
old
of a
are
drive.
they?
7 and 4.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So our kids are 22, 19, and 16,
Yeah.
and I was surprised. They said that was their favorite vacation ever, but being a little older,
Yeah.
but they loved it. So
Yeah. They probably would argue with me like, why don't we go to Disney World? It'd probably be just as long of a drive.
yeah, it's way better in Disney World.
I don't blame them. Well, Will, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to get a hold of Oracle, where can they find you in Oracle?
Yeah, website is just oracleinsuranceagency.com, or you can do Oracle Omaha. We're the Oracle of Omaha. I was waiting for Buffett to call someday
Yeah, right.
and buy us, but he hasn't called yet. Or yeah, call us on the phone 402-614-6623. But yeah, got a great staff. Let us know how we can help, even if it's just let you know that you're in the best spot.
Yeah.
We're always here just to help.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually a great thing you just said there is at the very least, you just have comfort knowing that you've got a good plan in place already. Like, don't need to touch it. Don't need to come work with us. Everything looks good already.
Yeah, I mean, I've made
Yeah.
recommendations to people and said, hey, stay where you're at, but here's a couple things to tweak. Maybe call
Yeah.
your agent and ask them about that.
Yeah.
Just because and we see it more. After the tornadoes in Elkhorn, we
Yeah.
really saw people. Everybody went from, hey, I want the cheapest insurance
Sure.
prior to the storm,
Yeah.
to people are calling right after that, like, hey man, do I have enough coverage? Because they
Yeah.
just saw, and we had a few policyholders that, I mean, their houses were completely gone, and it's something you don't ever want to see somebody go through.
Yeah.
But man,
Yeah.
to know that they were properly covered and they got put back whole,
That's
it's
awesome.
a huge testimony. So yeah, no, we're always happy just to answer any questions and just make sure that everybody's can sleep at night knowing that they're well protected.
Yeah. Be the calm in the storm.
That's right.
Love it. Well, Will, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Awesome. See you.